Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, gorgeous. Don't forget to smile. As you look radiant as you are the queen of your Nile, wake up, beautiful. It's time to spread your wings. Open up your window and hear the songbirds as they sing.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We'd like to thank you for joining us today on the Good Morning Gorgeous podcast, where you can grab your cup of Joe and come on in and join us for your Saturday morning inspiration. Today we have on the show, uh, uh, well, let me back up. I'm yours truly, Larissa Williams.
And I'm Sharonda Steele.
And we thank you for joining us this morning. It's a little bit rainy and it's been so foggy. So it's been really, really bad. So please be careful traveling out there this morning.
I love the rain. Most people don't like the rain. I love the rain. For some
I like
reason,
it when
I
I don't
love
have to
this.
go nowhere.
True. I love the smell of the rain. I don't mind rainy days, whether I'm in it or not. I prefer not to be in it, but I don't mind it. Most people hate rain. I love rain though.
Yeah, the rain brings back memories. I had a bad car accident
Ooh.
in the rain. I just picked my car up from the shop and was around the corner up the street and wrecked it again.
Wow.
Yeah, in the rain. In the
Oh,
rain.
so my love for rain may not be the same for you.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. But good morning, everyone. We thank you for joining us today. And today we have with us Miss Kelly Ruff. She is a licensed clinical counselor supervisor from Louisville, Kentucky. Woohoo! That's my hometown. I have known Kelly. Let me see. How long has it been, Kelly? Since
It's been quite a while. Yeah, the boys are really young.
yeah, and see now Marcus turned 19 yesterday. And Jalen
Wow.
will be 23 in January. So they were little tots.
Hmm.
They were
Wow.
little tots. But
You
I'm
have grown
always
men in your house.
grown men. Well, they're not in my house. So see, I'm an empty nester now, Kelly. I don't know if
Ooh.
you know that. Marcus is at University of Louisville, his first year at University of Louisville. And Jalen has graduated from Center College and he's working full time with his dad and he's moved out on his own. So God has truly been good. But we don't want to prolong anything, Kelly. So give us a little bit of your background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. As you mentioned, I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. I have been in the field for over a decade, which seems like just yesterday. I started my career out working with patients with traumatic brain injuries, which is a wonderful foundation for me. When I graduated, I prayed and I said, God, I don't want a job where I can walk in and do the same thing every day and know what's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
from hour to hour. And he granted that. I never prayed that prayer again, but he did grant that. In that population is unique in so many ways because not only did I get to serve patients with brain injuries, but walking alongside someone as they rebuild their life almost from scratch is an amazing journey. And so I did that for a while, enjoyed the work that I did, had so much experience sort of in that shaped around that one thing that I often say that if you can work brain injury, you can work anywhere, just because it's so all encompassing. Did that for a while. Decided that I wanted to change of pace. So I went to work in community mental health. And I served what we know as the sickest of the sick of the behavioral health population, providing assertive community treatment. If our patients lived under a bridge, we served them under a bridge. If they needed to get an injection in a Walmart parking lot, we gave them an injection in a Walmart parking lot. We were the literal picture of meeting them where they were. And it was an awesome experience. Out of all the populations that I served, what the media in our society can portray as scary people were some of the most respectful, kind, engaging engaging patients that I've ever had the opportunity to work with.
Wow.
I loved the work that I do. I am of the belief that all behavioral health professionals should come through the avenue of community mental health, because that is where a large portion of our clientele, our patients, that is their first exposure. That is their first access to behavioral health care. I did that for a little while. And again, looking to explore different career paths, but also realizing that when you work with patients with that level of intensity, it can be exhausting. Behavioral health doesn't have a 9 to 5. It's 24/7, 365. And so I went to work for a system of private hospitals in rural communities. And so I built an emergency response team that served 6 hospitals that were in small communities out in the counties. And what was happening was that people would come into the emergency room with a behavioral health crisis, whether they were suicidal, had a recent overdose, a psychiatric break, just needed some emotional support. And because the emergency room couldn't bandage them up and send them on their way, they didn't really know what to do with them. And so they lingered in the emergency room for hours, if not days, with no one knowing where to put them, where to send them. And so our emergency response team responded within an hour, assessed them, and got them to the appropriate level of care within hours. And so what this did was build confidence again in these hospitals, in these small communities. I did that for a while, and then I decided, okay, I really don't want to work on call anymore. Working 24/7 on call really limits some of your work-life balance, a lot of your work-life balance, prevents you from being able to do some things. And my friends and family were very understanding. But when you think about being on call 24/7, you can't go to the movies, you can't go out to dinner, you can't do those things that just make a part of a well-rounded, well-balanced life. And so I went to go work for a rehabilitative hospital, a wonderful facility providing wonderful care for the patients that they served. The challenge there was that people were very focused on healing themselves physically and not recognizing the connection between that mental healing and the physical healing. And so I was bored a lot, and that doesn't serve me well. Beautiful facility, wonderful care being provided, but I was under-engaged. And so I left there to go to university research. I worked on a research project serving patients with opioid use disorders and medical fragility. Wonderful opportunity again. I was a little disheartened by the fact that the population that we served was not as diverse as other populations that I was accustomed to serving. So sort of at the height or the beginning of COVID, I transitioned to a leadership position at a behavioral health hospital, managing their outpatient clinicians. Interesting time to be in management, interesting time to be leading, because a great deal of our staff were burnt out. A great deal of them had experienced a lot of loss, both loss of coworkers and family members, because again, this is at the height of COVID, and the work doesn't stop for behavioral health professionals.
Right.
We didn't go home. We didn't stop serving. That wasn't a part of it. It just changed the way the services were provided. And so a lot of my staff were sort of at those breaking points and not necessarily open to being led well. And so it was clear that I don't really want to lead at this time. I think it's better for me to be serving more directly with our patients and the people that we care for. So that sent me back to research, which I'm growing fonder and fonder of every day. And I currently serve on a research project that is educating moms with opioid and substance use disorders who are prenatal and postnatal. So we want healthy moms having healthy babies that they get to take care of and take home with them. So that's what I get the pleasure of doing as my primary job. I have some secondary and tertiary work that I do. I lead a DUI, a multiple offender class, which is my fun job. They hate when I say that, but it really is my fun job. We get to talk about the reality of recovery, what the true cost of substance abuse recovery is. And it's a little more than just, here's what got you a ticket, here's what got you this time. It really is, how is your choice to still engage in use impacting you, your family, your community, etc. I also do some private practice work with a telepractice. So I really enjoy what I do. People are like, man, you work a lot. It's because I like what I do. It doesn't seem like work. It really does seem like getting to walk alongside. So I use this metaphor of therapy being a journey. And it's like, we're going for a hike and I'm walking alongside you. You are leading the path, but I got the compass, I got the water, I got the map, I have all the things to help us navigate the trip, but you take the lead because it's your life.
Right.
And I really
Yes.
consider it a privilege and an honor to be able to walk alongside people as they journey to wellness.
You know, I always wonder, especially when it comes to mental health professionals, those first responders, you know, those careers are really, really tough, even when you have a passion for it, because, you know, I can get up and go to work, and yes, I may have some tough days, but, you know, for the most part, I can, you know, I have pretty smooth days, right? But there's some professions where every single day, like, people won't call unless there is a problem.
Right.
So I always wonder, like, you know, what makes people go into those roles where, you know, when someone have a problem, they call you. That means you only talk to people when there's an issue. It seems like it can be really taxing and really draining. And I know you talked a little bit about that work-life balance in terms of, like, you know, how do you keep it all together in this role? I know you mentioned, you know, you love the profession. What made you even choose it? You know, how did you even get into counseling? This would be something you want to do. And how do you just balance it all at this point?
Those are great questions. Let's start with, how did I get into this field? It was definitely a God thing. I came to the University of Kentucky wanting to be a journalist. And so it wasn't until my first senior year, which indicates that there were more, my first senior year, that I discovered that it wouldn't allow me to sort of go down the path I wanted to. I just thought I could graduate and go write for Essence. But that is not how it works. And I did not want to write small town obituaries and about cats and trees. And so, because I didn't want to do that, I went to my advisor and I said, look, I don't want to keep being here and spending money. What do I have the credits to graduate with? So I had taken a lot of women's studies classes. I had taken a lot of African American studies classes, and I had taken a lot of sociology classes. And so I said, well, stir that up. What do I have? So I graduated with a degree in gender and women's studies with an emphasis on social inequalities and a minor in African American studies.
Wow.
All right. All right.
It sounds great, doesn't it? And so what do you do with that degree?
I would be surprised you wouldn't teach.
Well, so that's always have been sort of my in the future plan, because I do want to do faculty work. But at the time I was like, well, what do you do with these degrees? And it's the answer is you go back to school and you figure out what you really want to do. And so I did take some time away from school, went to Louisville for a year, came back. And when I say it was a God thing, I saw an advertisement for my program at Lindsey Wilson in the paper on Sunday. And it wasn't like the Sunday paper. It was like a little community paper. It was the Southsider. Picked it up, saw the advertisement. Next morning, got to work, called the woman, talked to her, set up a meeting, met with her on Monday afternoon, started classes with funding and books on Friday.
Wow.
All right.
That's
so
incredible.
at the time, I was not a driver, and I got off my intention was like, I get off work, I ride the bus, I go to class, I get up the next morning. Well, that first Friday in class, one of my cohort members said, oh, did I see you get off the bus? And I said, yes, ma'am. And that's all. She stood up and said, excuse me, does anybody live near Richmond Road? And I'm looking at her like, and so a girl in the class said, me, I do. And she was like, do you mind taking this baby home? I saw her get off the school bus. I saw her get off the city bus, and it's too dark for her to be riding the bus. Now, mind you, I don't know anybody in this class.
Mm-hmm.
This girl agreed to take me home. She became really great friends with me. I did not learn to drive literally until I almost graduated.
Wow.
She picked me up, took me to class every weekend for the duration of our program, would not
Praise
accept money.
God.
So when I say it was a God thing, it literally was, I'm going to put you in position to do what it is that I want you to do, and I'm going to make it. And so I didn't necessarily choose. I knew once I knew I could not be a journalist, not that I could not, but that wasn't serving me in the way that it could. I just wanted to help people, because that's really all I wanted to do with my writing. I just wanted to help people. And so I was like, guide me in a way that I can help people. What better way? Right. And so I graduated from Lindsey Wilson. That's when I pray the prayer. I don't want to just sit in a room with a chaise lounge and a yellow notebook recording first world problems. That is not of interest to me. Now,
Right.
I'm not to say that that is invalid. I am of the view that everyone could benefit from counseling. It doesn't have to be just severe crisis situations. But
Right.
starting out, that wasn't what interested me.
Mm.
Now it's very interesting because I've done all this stuff.
You've done a lot.
Yes, it is one of those things that it was a God thing, and I like I said, I consider it a privilege and an honor, and I definitely see it as a call to be able to serve people in their times of crisis, but also just as they pursue better.
Yeah.
How do you balance it? I think there are multiple ways. Number one is you take care of yourself, right? I get the privilege of talking about self-care a lot. I don't always excel in it. I have to be intentional about doing. I have to be mindful that it's important and that I can't always be pouring, that I have to be open to being poured into, that I have to be okay with saying, I need rest, I need breaks, I set boundaries. Like all of those things are really important because that's the only way to maintain.
Yes.
I don't have the option to turn away people when their life is hard. I don't have the option to say, oh, no, thank you, not today. Right? That's not a part of the work that I've been called to do. And so if I'm not caring well for myself, then I'm not going to be able to help people care well for themselves.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We had one of our previous client, I don't know how to, previous interviewer or
yes.
and I remember she said, protect your calendar. Sometimes you have to say no and take care of yourself and make sure you yourself get in alignment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am really
Okay.
big on boundaries. And I think that one of the things that serves us poorly as women and the different roles that we wear serves us poorly as Black women in particular is that we don't always feel like we can set and enforce our boundaries. I get to work with moms a lot. And one of the things that I talk about is that even though they're your children, you can still protect your space. You don't have to let your kid eat off your plate. You don't have to share everything you're eating and drinking with them. They don't always get access to your body and your space. You can set those boundaries. And by setting those boundaries, you help them establish good boundaries for themselves.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I think sometimes we get mixed up in this whole, what I like to say, toxic idea of this superwoman.
Yes.
Because superwoman has no boundaries, right? She does everything all the time. She can do everything all the time. And it's like, no, you can't.
And I think that if we're not careful, we align ourselves with fictional characters and have the expectation that fictional characters operate under. Superwoman is a fictional character, right? It doesn't have those human aspects. When we think about this time of year, right? Oh, I have to do all these things to make the holiday special for my children. Well, this is a high time for depression. This is a high time for grief. These are things that can hinder you from being super if that's how you're choosing to operate. And so work-life balance, being able to set boundaries, being able to engage in good self-care, all those are really important. The other piece is that I have a therapist, I have a clinician, I have a strong pastoral support team. I serve in my church. That is a form of self-care for me. And all of those things being what keeps me able to do what I do. I will never say that this isn't burdensome. I made the choice to take on the weight of other people's issues and serve them. But I also make the conscious decision to lay aside that weight when I'm transitioning to my personal life.
Wow, that's good. Wonderful. Man, transition when you go into your personal life. I think that's probably the biggest challenge for a lot of people.
I need to write that down.
They don't know how to lay it, you don't know how to separate the two when you're done at work and now I'm at home. That little bitty bridge of transition from one to the other, I think is where most people struggle probably the most.
And I think that COVID taught us a lot of things about the workplace and how successful we can be, and that it doesn't necessarily mean we have to be in an office or in any particular place.
Yes.
But it should have taught us that with appropriate boundaries, we can be productive everywhere. Some people, because they were working remotely, didn't establish boundaries and they felt like, well, I'm working from home, so home is work. That's not true. Here are the times that I work. Here are the times that I'm available. Here are the things that are within the scope of my practice. Like I have this conversation a lot with my supervisees, being able to say, you set the tone for what your expectations are. I was talking to a patient yesterday who had a complicated workplace situation, and I said, this is the time where you get to protect yourself. And you say, here are my boundaries. Here are the things that I'm willing to do. Here are the things that are in line with what you hired me to do. Here are the things that you're asking me to do that do not align with that. And having the confidence to say, if you don't respect my boundaries, I will make the choice to choose me. My last interview, I said this, and I reminded my boss that I said this yesterday. I said, I am not loyal to a company. I am not loyal to a position. I'm loyal to me. Because if you want the best employee from me, here are the things that I require, and here's the things that I'm willing to provide. If you provide what I'm saying that I need to be honored as an employee in the same way that you expect me to honor you as a company. Because the reality is, if this job stresses me to the point of death, it impacts my health, it impacts my behavioral health, you are going to post my position within 24 to 48 hours.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean you won't grieve my loss. I'm a lot to lose. You will indeed grieve my loss.
All right now. I love it.
You still need to fill that position. You still need to have someone carrying on that work. So the way that you honor me is by respecting my boundaries. I get off at 5. I don't expect an email. I don't expect a call. No, I understand. Someone may email me. I know you don't expect a response before my next work day.
I know that's right.
I don't work on the weekend. I don't work after these hours. And because I have multiple jobs, you can't just reach me. I'm somewhere else working.
Yeah.
I'm booked and busy.
Yes.
Being able to set those boundaries and say, this is what I can provide, but here are my expectations is, and everyone doesn't have the luxury. So I understand that comes with privilege. I see that, but I also feel like anyone can advocate for their boundaries.
Right.
Do me
One
a
of the things
favor,
I started
Kelly.
doing differently, I remove email off of my phone.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have any work email on my phone. Only
that's
personal.
a great boundary to set.
Yep. Yeah.
Kelly, for our listeners, repeat what you said when you said, I'm not loyal to a company. Repeat that line you said.
I'm not loyal to a company. I'm not loyal to a position. I'm not loyal to employer. I am loyal to me.
To me. I love that, because we tend to, as women, we wear so many hats, and we tend to constantly hold on to all of that.
Yes.
But I love that, because we have to learn how. I feel like if the pandemic and going through COVID hasn't taught me anything, what it has taught me is that I have to learn how to love myself first.
Yes.
Because during that because we are confined, we can't go anywhere, and it gave me time to really clear my head about things and get things in my life in order, and I think for like married couples, it gave them an opportunity to really be like, okay, they're at home. Can you really get along? You know what I mean? They may have bumped heads, or, because they're together in each other's face 24/7. So and I think we all struggled through that time.
Yeah.
But it was a time for me. I was able to really, really get some things in order for myself, but also, more importantly, I drew closer to God during that time. I mean, I was watching 2 and 3 services on Sunday, and going and finding it during the week, and it was just it was a blessing, and it was during that time a spiritual growth journey for me. It really was.
I think when we think about sort of all the things that we lost during that time, it's important to also reflect on, and I don't want to put a period on that, because we're still experiencing effects of the pandemic. There's still people who are sick and dying from COVID. But one of the things that we got to see is we got to really explore what it meant to be family. We got to really explore what it meant to have healthy relationships. I work with families, I work with moms, and one of the things I talk about all the time is creating balance within the home, cultivating an atmosphere where rest is prioritized, sort of chopping down that feigned incompetence, Sorry, hun, I can't help you with the kids because I got work to no, hey, we're all here. Everybody gets a part. And so being able to sort of revitalize the health of families was something that we got, learning what it meant to be an educator for your children, learning what it meant to be to encourage. So I am always appalled by families, especially with multiple children of a certain age, who their children don't know how to do basic chores because they're accustomed to mom doing, or they're accustomed to mom and dad doing. Like, there was a wonderful time for everyone to take ownership of the home and everyone to learn and take responsibility, because those are lasting lessons, right? Those are things that you will need as you transition into a career, as you transition into higher education. And so it was fruitful, because it had a lot of opportunity. Now, not everyone took that opportunity, but hopefully people did take that opportunity to invest in the wellness, not only the physical wellness, but the wellness of their family. I had a surge of families who came to counseling during that time, because spending that time together, they realized, I don't know that I like this person that I married.
Wow.
Or I don't know how not to yell at my children. Or I don't know how else to spit. Everyone is so frazzled, and we go and go and go until we just fall asleep. Like, we're not cultivating rest in our home. Like, we get to have all of these healthy conversations that was birthed out of something extremely traumatic for our world, not just our country, but for our world. We've never managed grief, and now there's death all around us. We've never talked about, I talk about all the time, there's an age appropriate conversation to have with children about death, dying, and loss, and most parents avoid that conversation. COVID didn't allow us the opportunity to avoid that conversation because there was so much loss.
Everywhere. Yeah.
This was good. I love talking with counselors, mental health professionals. They bring I think a lot of things that we talk about and share on this platform through the podcast. When we have a professional on, it kind of confirms a lot of the stuff that others have said.
Yes.
About what's important, and the idea of being loyal to yourself, setting those boundaries, practicing self-care. All those things are important to just who you are as an individual.
Absolutely.
Not as a mom, not as a wife, not as a daughter, or not as a employee or whatever it is, as a person. Because you are a person, an individual that have to make sure that you are caring for yourself. So sometimes we forget we're people.
Yes,
we operate like little machines, and I gotta do this, and I gotta take this person there, and I gotta do this and do that, and we forget that we're human. I bumped my toe the other day and it hurt.
Yes. I think a part that sort of returns us to humility is understanding and reminding ourselves, if I die today, someone else will pick this up.
Yep.
And when I have people prioritizing tasks, right? Does this have to happen today? Does this have to happen at all? And do I need to be the one to do it?
Yes.
You're
right.
Yes.
I found myself working late yesterday, and out of the blue, my computer shut down, would not allow me to log in again.
It was time
my
to
work
go.
computer.
Yeah, it was
and
time
I'm
to
going,
go.
it completely locked me out. And now it's after 5. I can't call the IT department. And someone said, well, I guess that means you can't work this weekend. I thought, I can't work this weekend, but I thought, no, I can't work this weekend. And that's where I am. I will see that stuff on Monday when I get there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. We have, I don't know if we asked you this, but from your experience in the different areas that you have dealt with in the mental health, dealing with the mental health, dealing with the brain injuries. I like one thing you said meeting clients where they are, going out there into the community, meeting them where they are. From that and what you have said, is there anything that a message that you would like to share with our viewers and our listeners that would, if you have someone that's really going through something as an individual, is there anything that you would like to share with them, something that would be able, that they can hold on to help
Absolutely.
them deal with it?
Yes. So when I talked about that particular population, I talked about literally logistically where they were, where they lived, where we found them, where they frequented. But when it comes to meeting people where they are, it also means in a less tangible sense, and where they are in their emotional state, where they are from a spiritual perspective. When I say meeting people where they are, it's not assuming that they're going to respond the way that you do, that they're going to have understanding and comprehension that you have. And it is offering people grace to come where they are and not expect from them what you would give or what you would do, how you would respond. It is literally allowing them the space and saying, I want to come to where you are. I want to know how I can help you, how I can serve you. And then if they're open to that, being able to provide the resources and materials needed to connect them. You don't have to have all of the answers. And sometimes meeting someone where they are is saying, I just want to stand here with you if you'll allow me.
Yes.
And that second part is important too, because we have to be okay with not being people's saviors. Right?
Yes.
I want to connect you to what you need if I can, if you'll allow me. Here are the resources, here are the tools, here are the things that I'm willing to do. If you don't need anything but someone to stand in the ring with you, I'm there with you.
Yes.
So
I serve on the board for NAMI Kentucky, and one of the things I love about NAMI nationwide, but particular here in Kentucky, is that there are resources that are available and that are abundant. And they don't have the expectation that you're a clinician, that you're an expert. They literally say, how can we serve you? How can we educate you? How can we connect you to the people that will get you to what it is that you need? And sometimes people just need someone to walk alongside them and say, I'm here for you. I hear you. I see you. And I want to help if you're open to it.
Yeah, so good.
So that's what meeting someone where they are is. We have to be careful not to insist that people heal the way we want them to heal.
Yes.
Because they're not us.
Yep.
If we're believers, we trust them to God. We cover them in prayer. We meet their tangible needs. We shouldn't be like, I'm praying for you and somebody's cold. I'm praying for you and here's a coat. That's how that works. I'm praying for you and here's a blanket. Not just I'm throwing some prayer at you when you're freezing and hungry. We put those two together, right? And being able to offer people the grace to say, I'm here for you, but not have our own expectations. We can love people well and support people and care for them and it not make it to social media.
Right.
We can love people well and care for them and provide for them and not have to advertise that we did so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so meeting people where they are is being sensitive to the space that they are, being able to assist if they'll allow us. Now, the other piece to that is that some people are not well enough to be open and still being able to say, I want you to be able to get help and support and initiating the resources that can allow that for them.
Yeah. So good. Man, Kelly, you've dropped so many jewels today.
I know, girl, I'm bright.
This is a great way to start the morning. It really is.
Yes. And Kelly, we thank you so much for your patience, because with the computer issues that we were having, you have been very, very
well
patient.
worth it. Well worth it.
And I'm telling you, when I think of Kelly Ruff, I've always seen a woman of grace and a woman, just someone that is so humbling. Every time that's what I think about when I think of Kelly Ruff.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So
the babies always loved on Kelly, and they would look at Miss Kelly. Everybody, Miss Kelly, Miss Kelly. You remember them days?
Yeah, I do.
At Consolidated, everybody, Miss Kelly, Miss Kelly, Miss Kelly. And there was, several young adults. I remember when I first started, I'm being at Consolidated back in 2005. When I first came, I just, always at that, I've never seen you upset. Never seen you.
I've heard people say that before, and I think that this kind of goes back to the superhuman piece of it. One of the things that I had to learn very early on in my career, because working with people with brain injuries, they don't always have the capacity to process their emotions properly.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
had to learn, if I can stay in control of my emotions and I can manage my emotions in that moment, that I don't have to go back and apologize to people for things I said. I don't have to go back and repair relationships. Now, it doesn't mean I don't feel those things. It doesn't mean I don't go to my office and eat 2 brownies. It doesn't mean that I don't, but it does
Right.
mean that I exercise grace in that moment and say, I've been there before. I've been that kind of angry. I've been that kind of frustrated, especially because at the time, a lot of my patients were older than me. So you have, and a lot of them had not had cultural experiences. So for some of my patients, you have a young Black woman telling you what to do, directing your life, preventing and allowing things.
Yeah.
I understand that is a great deal of loss of power and control. And so I'm not going to do anything to incite that. I am going to honor you in that moment. And so that's why I don't like allow my emotions to. Now, there are times when I'm gonna go in my office and have some words, and sometimes not with King Jesus. But other than that, like, it doesn't serve me well to. And I'm also an introvert, so that takes so much energy. It takes so much energy to have that type of emotional output, because now I got to go back and recover. Now I got to go sit in my car and listen to a podcast or some music and get my head back straight.
They could just check out Good Morning Gorgeous.
That's it.
But that is so true, and that's such a great way to look at it. That is such a great way to look at that.
So, wow, this has been amazing. Kelly,
This
we
is
thank you
good.
so much. You know, this is
So
you've
good.
given us a whole lot of nuggets. And and when our viewers and listeners, when your episode drops, I hope, that everyone takes an opportunity to listen to it and can learn something that will help learn something that we can apply to our lives daily.
Absolutely.
So we thank you so much, Kelly,
Thank you so much. This was good.
For joining us.
I said it a lot, but this was good.
It was good. It's getting, I don't know if it's, somebody say, is it gooder and gooder and gooder? Is that a word? Or better and better and better? I feel
gooder,
like
gooder, better. It's all of that.
After each episode, so thank you. We like to thank our viewers for joining us and listening in. And as we always end our program, we always say, find yourself,
believe in yourself,
and love yourself. So thank you again for joining us, Kelly.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.